Hi, I'm Mark Hedges, AIGA San Diego president. I am here with another very extraordinary designer, Don Hollis from Hollis Brand Culture, a local San Diego branding agency. And we're here to just talk a little bit about our project that we presented for San Diego Design Week, which was Projecting Futures, a real fun project that we put together. Did a call for entry. We had about 59 designers participate, and Don's studio came together as a group and provided us with a graphic that we then added to our display. And real quick, I'm just going to show that. Don, you cool? Real quick, hold on.
I'm cool.
I'm gonna share the screen real quick. There we go. Nice. So thank you guys for putting that together. And yes, I do know that you entered 3 different things. Sorry about the mix up in the files, but you got one in, as you said. Awesome. If you want to talk a little bit about your entry, go for it. I do have one question on the tag on that graphic, but if you want to speak a little bit about the event itself, not only San Diego Design Week as a whole, but also you could just kind of give us a little insight on what intrigued you or why you felt the need to participate in our little project.
That's a fully loaded question, because those are all good things to talk about, and maybe your other questions will drill down into some of the other parts of that question. So for sure, for starters, being part of AIGA and supporting that since I first came to San Diego and looked for part of the community of like-minded people to join and commiserate with and celebrate with and learn more together. AIGA has been really a great kind of foundation for growing over the last 26 years that I've been had my firm. So we participated always at different levels, from being on the board, being a past president myself as well. So I appreciate your service and I feel your pain all at the same time. All good things. It's great to dig in and do the heavy lifting and help make a difference. But that's what Projecting Futures is as well. It's been a tough time. It's been a super challenging year on just about every level possible for so many people, and on a world scale, no less, not just San Diego. But we could use a little positivity right now. We could use a little hope and optimism and looking ahead to what's next and post-pandemic, what that world looks like. It's also given us a chance, even though we've been busy as a firm throughout the last 6 months. We've paused and introduced some of our side projects and wish list things that we always kind of say, I wish I could get to that. I want to do this thing someday, make that happen. And we've got about a half dozen different things in the fire right now, with our own points of expression and almost like a brand or idea, but it may be posters, it may be apparel. It's kind of cathartic. It's a chance to do design for ourselves, and we're the client for a change. So what we want to do, we get to do, without to make the logo bigger or change this or change that kind of,
No
considerations in the process, right? So design for us, but sharing, in the sense of, it makes us feel good. It reminds us of why we do what we do. Helps us stay grounded. And so our submissions were all messages in that same direction. So ideas of nurturing nature. There was another one that just said, hello, chill. And the third that was a past kind of message piece we put out that just said, stay home, sweet home. So just home, sweet home by itself, regarding what we go through and wearing masks and working together to get past all of this. So the graphic is really, it's the outcome of one of those things. We brainstormed and done some copywriting and created a lot of key phrases and words and things that celebrate and represent those ideas, and creative ways to express those ideas and how to wrap that messaging and turn that into a visual So that's kind of where that one came from. He didn't ask you a question, or maybe he did, about the tagline.
I did not. I wanted to know what the Surf Easy, the little tag at the bottom, it was Surf Easy. Is it a name of a band or something?
And it's a good test because it's beer 30 right now, or 5 o'clock somewhere. It's cerveza. So it's in
cerveza.
Espanol and cerveza, but it's surf with an easy A at the end. So it's a little more of an in-house lifestyle brand that we've conjured to celebrate, again, those moments to pause, take a break, relax, chill out, reconnect, rebalance, recenter, reminders of, again, why we do what we do. And we also need to make time for all those other things that feed that and keep us whole and well and grounded. So we're working on ideas, words, and visuals that kind of encompass this idea of balance. And cerveza, cheers.
Cerveza, that's awesome. I totally did not even get that. And then I searched it up, and it is a band. And they were doing some living room tunes, and it was pretty killer.
I did see it as a band, yeah. So we have a conflict with our name, I suppose, but
it's okay. It's okay. It was like it was almost. I was going to try and figure out how I could actually play their music while we were looking at it, because it would have been perfect.
I'm not familiar with the band, so I hope
I'll send you a link afterwards. Yeah. But well, cool. Well, again, we're very grateful for your participation, and as a community leader, design leader, you guys, continue to put out support, etc. And seriously, really appreciate it.
I'm glad to. Again, it feeds our soul to get to do creative things like that. I worked on words and bits and pieces, and the cerveza starting point name-wise, and I've been working with Tyler at our office, and Max as well. Omar picked in the animation part of it, but I mean, there's a whole team. There's 10, 11 of us over here. We've been going full steam. Over the last 6 months, Mark Boydston's here, at the office holding down the fort. But otherwise, we've all primarily been working, remotely, like many people, over the last 6 months, trying to figure out how we're going to get back together in person as well, because we miss that direct collaboration.
No doubt. Well, you mentioned something earlier about coming to San Diego and, starting out here and getting involved with AIGA. Can you, for the ones that don't know you and for the up-and-comers, can you give me a little insight into your path from coming to, entering the career and, getting to where you are today?
If we do a fast rewind to the Wayback Machine, I guess I feel fortunate. I've always kind of had a creative kind of pull. My first print job, my family was friends with a guy who had a print shop, and I was 10, and I got to draw this image of a 70s van, and then we went in the dark room and photo typeset, from the desk of Don. And we stripped it up, burned the plates, burned the negatives, went through the process, loaded the ink on the press, we put it all together, fed the sheets through, trimmed and cut the job, padded it, and stacked. And so I had my first print job with my own artwork kind of thing. But I've always understood the process, from a very early age, and always been very process and material driven in the work that we do. And that's always fed into my curiosity and creating solutions and thinking about materials a lot of times in unconventional ways. But it's been a lifelong thing, and so that led to, during high school, painting signs. And if I didn't know how to do it, and hand lettering and studying books to go out and do that. And I actually made really awesome money early college, before cut vinyl was a thing. So shopping center barricades, and when stores were under construction, I had to paint these big mural elements and type elements. And they had to be really crisp and done well, so that it looks like what vinyl would look like today, cut on a wall, simple one color kind of things. But I got pretty fast and good with my hands and executing those kind of pieces. I went, before design school, I worked at a print shop as well, immediately before going back. I had gone to college after for fine arts and different things, and bounced around a little bit and wasn't quite ready for college. I wasn't in the right school at the time, probably. And so...
Sorry, you were not into school? Is that what you said?
I wasn't, well, I was not in the right school.
Oh, gotcha.
At that time. And that was in New York, northeastern New York. And a few years later, after working at a print shop and doing production work, and again, learning the fundamental parts and really on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, so I went from working at a print shop saying, I want to do design. I saw projects coming in that we were printing and producing, and I was doing darkroom and photostat and camera work for the jobs. I'm like, I want to do that versus the other part of what I'm doing. So I could do all the handwork and creating that, but then it's a deeper dive, and I was in my 20s, early 20s at that point, and I'm like, where do I go? Where do I learn this? And so there's no internet back in that day, so you can hit the libraries, you look for options. But anyway, I ended up at the Art Institute of Philadelphia, and when I was 24, when I started, and it was a different thing too, because you're 18 and you go to college and you're figuring out what's next in life. 24, and I'm like, man, I want to get on with this. I want to be working. I want to be starting a career. So a whole different mindset, and my approach was different for sure. So it was good to wait. But I went to school there. I did multiple things through school to expand my experience and build a resume. With an internship at Young and Rubicam, their Cato Johnson division, just a lot of Detroit automotive. That was in Wilmington, Delaware, when I was at school. And I worked in the darkroom because of my print experience. So I got to run the stat camera and do all my work. And I worked in the computer lab, and computers were just becoming, a main tool in design. And so I got unlimited access and time and fonts and all kinds of use that would have otherwise, been more limiting. So I did multiple internships at the same time while I was in school. I looked, there's a design group within school that got to work on real world projects through assignments, through instructors. So I jumped in on that and kept trying to find real world exposure and experience to just, catch up. I felt like I was always a little bit, needing to know more for where I was time-wise. That led to a job as an art director for Lev Lane Advertising and PR in Philadelphia, in Bala Cynwyd. They're still around. You can look them up. And the creative director there, Bruce Lev, was super influential. Just really, I kind of borrowed a lot from that agency model in terms of how I work today. They had an account department that really dealt with the client interaction. They had a creative department that really was the think tank and hub of the agency. And they worked together, but the creative led everything. So even if the client wanted to make the logo bigger or the message is this, we always pushed back and said, the right message is here. And, convincing the clients and sharing rationale and having reasons for why we did what we did, or how we're going to break through, or how we're going to cut through all the noise. Those were always big challenges to address, but there was no compromise for creative there. Creative led everything, and I really adopted that for me. That was the thing that just said, no matter what, if you got to go the extra mile, it doesn't matter if it's back then a 2-color postcard or a black and white newspaper ad, or if it's an extended, full color campaign. But even those small things still could express big ideas. The right words, the right message, and the execution. I didn't have a lesser view of a 2-color postcard. I just had parameters to work with it. So you know what the challenges are. Okay, it's a 4x8 card, and it's 1-color ink or 2-color ink, and you're working with the copywriter, and you're developing visuals, and you're putting the message together. The design, execution, and layout was still an opportunity to make something that cuts through the noise. So I kind of just have always been, I looked for every opportunity in whatever the piece was to make sure it still was strong and on point, and the creative leads the process. I hope I answered your question.
That's huge. So then when did you actually, when did you come to San Diego? When did you set roots here, and did you come here and start Hollis immediately, or was that a progression also?
I think I've had a pretty typical San Diego story. I mean, the dream of the West Coast and beach and coastal and year-round sunshine and all those things, especially, coming from New York and northeastern New York, where there's 6 months of winter, and Philadelphia has long, cold winters too, and hot, humid summers. I had a high school reunion coming up. It was like a 10-year reunion, and I'm like, and I ran into a couple of people. I'd always dreamed about checking out California and seeing what it was like. It was just that romanticized kind of dream. But I connected with a couple of people there, and it was like August of '92, and I came out here. I brought my portfolio just for kicks, just schlep around the big whole thing. There was no digital anything to share with potential prospects. So you get a workout at the same time, right?
No doubt, man. That's where all your masking skills come into play,
right?
too, right?
All these big blackboards and everything mounted, and so. I got some interviews while I was out here. It was a recession, which is a common theme we've heard about, at different times over the last 2.5 decades. But so nobody was hiring, but they all had time. So I got to meet with some people that don't necessarily remember meeting. I met with Tyler Blick's team. I met with Myers back in the day, and a few others around town, DeZino Thompson when they were here. So I got in front of people at least and got a sense of what San Diego was like. And I looked at LA as well, with a friend that was up there. But I liked the balance, and I knew when I was working about 80 hours a week on my own back then that if I had a weekend off or a day off, in Philadelphia it was either raining or humid, or it was fall and it was cold for 6 months. And so if I had time for a day off, I kind of wanted to be able to get outside and enjoy the outdoors. And so San Diego was that lure for me. And brought me here, more so than opportunity at the time. So I kind of had to make my own opportunity, but I left Love Lane after that. I had that reunion in August of '92. I came out here, I quit my job about a month later, took a month to settle things up back there, and I came out here in October '92. I worked freelance gigs. I got some stuff right out of the bat, but nobody was hiring, recession time. And so I got the work I could get and just kept going. And I had a birthday in February '94, where it was kind of, I'd been out here almost a year and a half. And for me, it was kind of that shit or get off the pot moment. I think I've always thought about just, having my own firm someday. I really wanted to work a few other places first and gain some more experience. But having worked for myself and managed clients, directly through, exposure to them at the agency and then out here, as a freelancer, it was kind of now or never. I didn't want to be thinking about it next year and, when's that day going to happen? So I just quit all the kind of part-time other things that I was working on and dedicated full-time, put my shingle out and started February of '94 here in San Diego.
Wow. So I'm going to
here we are today.
Yeah, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit because you and I met during your subtext, or just before your subtext days. I think we kind of started crossing paths more. And then you had subtext. And I'm bringing that up because Tyler came down to the show. Tyler is one of your staff. That was for the audience, not for you, in case you forgot.
Oh, Tyler.
Oh, yeah. Shit. He was down there and, we were doing our social distance and everything. There was a small crowd there and it was nice, right? Everybody's watching the show. We got music bumping in the background. And as Tyler was leaving, I got a minute to catch up with him and he said that. And I was like, oh man, it warmed my heart because he's like, yeah, this reminds me so much of our subtext days down in Little Italy, down the road. And I was like, totally, it put me right there for a second. So very cool. And you're still running subtext, right? Or in a sense, you have the private gallery still, right?
I have the space. It's been dormant for the last 2 years. I mean, we haven't been actively doing shows. It takes a team, like any event kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we were doing a pretty regular frequency. We're at it still about 8 times a year when we stopped. But we had a guy working with us, Matt Dominguez and George Garcia was working with us. Those guys were helping out for shows. Dylan Jones and I were doing the gallery thing for the decade shows. We had over 400 artists, over 10 years.
Dude, that was crazy. I loved your shows.
Dylan had another baby, Wyatt, and so just everybody. Matt went to Google in San Francisco. I mean, so all the people that were supporting and part of the, making that happen on a regular, bi-monthly kind of pace, just needed a break and a pause, and they moved on to some other things. And so I still have the name and the physical space, but aside from a few events and things, we've been pretty quiet for the last few years. I keep wanting to fire that back up and find a way to do that.
So I know AIGA would probably love to talk to you about that space at some point.
Always open to big ideas, right? That's what we all do.
Exactly. I wanted to get to another question. In the state of the being of the world today and dealing with all the social unrest, this is a kind of a more personal level on you and how you as a business owner are kind of stepping into this, and how I'm looking to just kind of see how you're participating in it at whatever level, whether it's just support, like what we're doing is we're just keeping a conversation going as an organization, right? And just if you have any kind of insight into it, I think that would be a good thing to hear from you.
Wow, what a year, right? On so many fronts. There's so many things at play, and the lack of stability and the unrest, and throw in a pandemic, stir all of that. It's just a wildly crazy time, and there's certainly a lack of leadership out there that brings people together, that creates unity. It's okay to have different ideas, right? But we sure as hell can work together, to create something better and find common ground. And instead, there's just been this divisive, platform for almost the last 4 years. It's just been magnified and multiplied by other economic downturn brought on by pandemic. So it's just kind of this perfect storm. We're tired, here. We want to work together. We want to collaborate. We want to make things. But for sure, the eye-opening parts of it have been about needing to listen more and learn more, and finding ways to be supportive, especially Black Lives Matter, and finding causes and groups and purposes that are underheard and underrepresented, and taken for granted, and not intentionally by any means, but actually just I naively probably assumed everybody's equal, but there's that's my white privilege, right? I mean, there's so much going on that is just opening your eyes and listening and trying to do better, to hear that and to understand that and realize the true disparity that there is still out there in so many ways. And not turning a blind eye to that, and so we're looking for ways to be better, do better, learn more ourselves, and apply that to our everyday lives and the work that we do. So I don't know if I have a specific project I could point to. We always have something in our roster of clients where we dedicate, a 10% kind of thing, like something in our roster is kind of a nonprofit, cause-oriented thing that we want to support, and so we use our creative talent to help there. And we've always kind of had one over the last couple of decades, somebody in that mix, that furthers those causes. So we'd want to continue to do that, and certainly think about all the issues that are at hand right now, and see where we can support.
That's awesome. Good. I appreciate your candor and honesty on that. It's a tough conversation, and I think we're all in that space of finding our path to be open, to unload whatever it needs to be. It's it's a very, very interesting time. And even though it kind of sucks on a lot of levels, I think it's about time. That's my thought.
But take masks, and everything's divisive right now. We wear a mask to keep people healthy. Oh, I don't want to wear a mask. You're taking away my freedom. I mean, is that? I mean, if we all wore masks and washed our hands and stayed away from each other for 4 weeks, and everybody did it, we'd be way more in control of what's going on right now. But we can't even agree to do that together.
Yeah. So you just captured that for prosperity's sake, so that it's going to live forever. And I think it's a good thing. All right, so I think we're going to be wrapping up here in a minute. So I got one last thing. What advice do you have for others who want to create change for themselves but don't know where to start?
You got to look inside. You can look outside, right? There's a million examples out there. So how do you hone in and find that thing? But what's the thing? Listen to your inner self and your inner voice. There's the heart and head kind of component of all of this. But what speaks to you, right? I mean, where do you see these injustices happening around you? What are your passions? What lights your fire, right? Because if you're going to invest time and want to make a difference somewhere, then identify the cause and purpose, or multiply that. But the things that matter the most to you, right? I mean, so you want to figure out what those are, and then it's asking questions, looking for like-minded individuals. There's certainly lots of social media formats and groups and places now more than ever to begin to have those conversations. But how can you use your specific skills and talents to help amplify their voices, right? So the more you care about the issue, certainly the more you're invested in that as a way to, again, join others. I think it's self-driven. I mean, it's there's so many resources out there. They're all at your fingertips now, internet-wise. I mean, it's an exciting time in that regard, as much as it's information overload and there's so many channels with so much going on. There is really a great opportunity to find out what matters most. And you can't overdo it either, I mean, it's easy to go all in and burn out or something, you got to find something that fits your schedule. What time do you realistically have to give? That's another question. I mean, you can say yes, and then all of a sudden, oh man, what did I volunteer for? What did I sign up for? I care about this, but so again, back to the surveys of the balance, the life thing, it's all got to fit together, and you've got to keep yourself whole and well so that you can contribute to whatever that other cause is that you want to be part of. I think it's finding balance, finding a way to measure that time, and to make sure you can sustain that. It's better to sustain it, I think, over time than it is to take on too much and have it spiral and not be manageable over time. Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. Very smart. That's smart wisdom. I should have asked you that question before I got started on my path.
No, I answer that question. That's a different question. People always say, well, what's the first thing you do if you're starting a design firm? And I'm like, hire a bookkeeper.
Right, exactly.
Someone to support, the invoices and the collection and all those other things that put gas in the car and keep your business going.
Get paid, Get paid
it's
first.
It's not the answer anybody usually expects, but it's like, if I could go back, hire a good one, not just one.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great, that's funny, because I keep telling people today, it's like, and this comes with experience, we can skin anything. We can design, we can make something looks a certain way. It's everything that leads us to that is the kind of the meat of it. I've almost put the design component as secondary to the idea, the development, the iterations, etc., to get to that end product. And when I say that to some young designers, they're like, oh man, they're like, what? That sounds like business shit. It's like, exactly, it is. It's a business. Design is a job.
If you want to move the needle, right? I mean, sure, you can capture someone's attention with the visual end of things, but I mean, the message is everything. The intent is everything. Content. Where it's all at, and meaningful, relevant content that moves people. And can you button that up and tie it together with a bow and have a strong design resolution on top of that, together with that? Well, that's kind of a home run, right?
Well, Don, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. And again, for you and the team, all participating in our project, projecting futures, being part of San Diego Design Week, being part of San Diego period, and being here for all of us who appreciate what you guys do and what you put out. And
well, I wish we could turn the tables, because I'd like to interview you here, but instead. But because I'm sure you've got some great insight to share with us too. And thank you for stepping up and taking the reins at AIGA. That's a big deal. That's a lot of work. I don't know if everyone appreciates and understands what that really takes, and that whole team that takes to make these things happen. And not just projecting futures, but San Diego Design Week, it takes a whole lot of people.
Sure.
We're just kicking off. I mentioned, the brand development for a San Diego pitch for World Design Organization.
Yeah, buddy.
Which is super exciting, and to Design Forward and a whole bunch of other groups are looking at San Diego and Baja California, connecting to, again, continue to make a difference in San Diego and in the region, and bring design to the forefront, and use design, like you just said at the end, is one of the components tied with concept and messaging and the big idea, to really celebrate, us as a community.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you acknowledging my role and what's going on out in our community. I'm actually getting ready to jump on the Design Forward Alliance call here in just a minute.
2 o'clock.
At 2 o'clock. Are you going to be on the call?
I just heard about it, and I called right before this one, so it's a little short notice.
Well, I can tell them that you're busy.
I will be there if I can. I might be a little late.
Well, buddy, I appreciate it. I look forward to the day that we can have a cerveza, and in the meantime, surf easy.
Yeah,
and
cerveza.
Well, I look forward to catching up with you soon, but thanks again, Don. Really appreciate it.
Love it, Mark. Thanks. Likewise. Good chatting. Be here soon. All right.
For sure. All right, man. Ciao.